All right, Derek, I do want to bring up what you saw down in Peach Jam. And one of the standouts, not only because we are watching because he's an Illini commit, but nationally, was Morez Johnson, who has been committed to Illinois for almost 2 years now, still a year away from joining the program. But you were there. What did you see from Morez Johnson last week?
Morez was awesome, and a guy that has always been a plus athlete, really physical and high motored and a great on the glass. Someone that defensively can really cover a lot of ground and he just battles. He battles his butt off. Now you're seeing like the offensive package has really come along impressively. This was the most opportunity I had to sit down and watch him since really the high school season. So getting a chance to see the confidence that he now has offensively. I think back to last year, he's playing with James Brown, which presented a challenge really for both those guys to really try to coexist with each other. A lot of times Morez was playing kind of free throw line extended, maybe even out to the perimeter, that high-low action, which I thought Morez did a good job of getting the ball to James and vice versa. But now it's with James playing Mocan lead and moving on from those guys being teammates really both at high school and AAU. It's Morez's team. It's Morez his job to demand the ball inside. And I thought still around the free throw line did some good things because now all of a sudden he can face you up, he can drive you, he can spin, he can finish with either hand. And those are all things that as you look back in his progression, it's like, okay, he's got a lot of things that you like, but the polish offensively just isn't where you want it. He's still fairly raw. He doesn't have a ton of moves to go to. Maybe doesn't have the most confidence in what he can do in terms of just being able to diversify his game. So he has that. He's knocked down a couple of jumpers. I mean, you see his highlights from the top 100 camp. I know that was something that when I read and watched what he was able to do, he can take that shot. And it's not his strength by any means, but it's just something that he's worked on and is showing flashes of that there's growth there. And he did that as well. So to put up the numbers that he did, I mean, there were games where he had 15, 16, 17 rebounds, led the UIBL and boards, was as impactful and productive as anybody on the circuit at the 17U level. So he was awesome. They went undefeated in pool play, lost a tough one their first game of a bracket play to the Wrens against Dylan Harper, number one player in 2024. But Morez he was great all week.
I think he's kind of solidified that his role is probably this undersized 5, Derek, right? Like I think you and I have seen like that's probably his role. He's not the tallest guy, but he's long. He's obviously the work ethic and the toughness is through the roof. So as we look forward here, like in a year when he joins this roster, how do you see him making an impact right away? And how do you see him kind of fitting in with a group that includes Dane Danger, low post guy, a group that includes Amani Hansberry, maybe can be more of a face up, and Ty Rogers, who's not a great shooter to this point. How do you see him kind of fitting into this roster?
I love that physically he's going to be pretty ready. I mean, his lower body strength, I mean, the ability to just drive people under the basket when he's going for offensive rebounds. And I mean, he's got some big thighs. He's put the work in the weight room, and just imagine a year from now, or give him a summer with Fletch. I have no concerns of his ability to battle in the Big Ten from the very get-go physically from that standpoint. I think the rim running ability is something that he's really going to be able to do. I mean, we know that Brad would love to play fast as much as possible, and someone that can go rim to rim, be someone that, he's 6'9". He's not the legit center size in terms of the height, but can provide a little bit of rim protection. But you said it there. I mean, Dane's going to have another year. If he continues to progress, you're probably looking at Morez playing behind him for at least a season. But I think Morez would be able to come in.
Which could be 15 to 20 minutes, right? Like it still could be significant playing time.
Right, for sure. And we'll see how Amani's progression goes, because I think for him to really play the 4, he's got to have that mid-range shot come along more. And I do like I think he handles it well for his size. He passes it extremely well from the perimeter. So he's going to have a little bit of versatility there, probably more of an undersized 5 coming in. And the same thing with Morez. I mean, if Morez gets the jump shot going, could he slide into some 4? Maybe, but he's best at the 5, and that's kind of how he's going to play out there. But he's showing to be someone that's going to be instant impact, even if it's in a bench role right off the bat. But I think he's going to be ready to rebound at a high level, to defend really well, to be that guy inside that can. I mean, he plays through contact really well around the basket, and then now if he's someone that can face you up and do some things too, I mean, that's pretty exciting.
I've kind of mentioned before that Illinois is starting to recruit front court pieces, which it wasn't that long ago, Derek, that they really struggled to do this. That Michigan State typically gets. Hansberry reminds me of Michigan State guy. I know Ty Rodgers, who can't qualify now as a front court piece, but he reminds you of a Michigan State kind of guy, right? And it feels like Morez Johnson's kind of the same thing. So I want to ask you this: like, Brad Underwood's recruited some really good talent, whether Kofi and Io, obviously what they became, but Ty Rodgers, top 50 prospect. Adam Miller, Andre Curbelo, top 50 prospects. What do you think of Morez as a prospect? Like, how does he stack up? Best recruiting get for Illinois since when?
I think probably Kofi. I would say that's probably one. I mean, Morez could end up being ranked higher than Kofi as we push forward. I know our board continues to hound Eric Bossy on his ranking or just his
fifth star. My take is keep him with that fourth star there. Keep that chip on his shoulder. Keep the expectations too, because 5-star. You're kind of expecting a one and done and an all Big Ten caliber play. I don't know if I want to put that on Morez quite yet, but I understand why people want a 5-star. It's a 5-star, right? Like, you get to brag about it.
Yeah, for sure. And Illinois haven't had a McDonald's All-American since Jeremy Richmond, go back to 2010. And I mean,
would you rather have a 5th star or a McDonald's All-American?
You said, would you rather have one or the other?
Yeah. Would you rather have a 5th star or a McDonald's All-American? I'd want the Mickey D's. I'd want the Mickey D's. Yeah.
Burger Boy. Illinois could use a Burger Boy. Yeah. I mean, I get it that the fact of you're going to have some front court players that are either more of if he's a center, if you're more of that 7-foot range, or you're going to have more skill. You're going to have guys that can stretch it out and shoot it more effectively, be more skilled off the bounce and everything. But for what he brings, I mean, his strengths are he dominated at Peach Jam. Like, the fact that physicality, rebounding, finishing around the basket, I mean, he's just dominant, and it was hard to deal with. And that's a high level of competition. And then you get some of the offensive progression that he's made. I understand why people think that. And I mean, Bossy put him as one of the biggest stock risers of the first live period, and he already elevated into the top 50 going into this month. So the idea that he could jump into from top 50 to top 30, could he push a 5-star? I think that's all within the range of possibility. And even just being on the radar of a legit McDonald's All-American prospect, I think that's something that he's worthy of. Is it going to play out that way? We'll see. But fans probably worry too much about it. I get the passion. I get the
he's the same player regardless, right?
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation in terms of best get. I mean, Sky Clark was highly touted.
Adam Miller was a heck of a prospect. Had a pretty good freshman year too.
He was too. Yeah. I mean, he was in that top 40, pushing top 30 type of range. If he is better, it's hard to say that he's better than Kofi. We know what we got out of Kofi ultimately. Io, of course. I mean, 24/7 even had Io as a 5-star. So I would probably say Kofi. And there have been some good gets through the years for sure. So
I was listening to you and Lon the other day, and you guys, I texted you. You guys were talking about Illini comps. There's just not a lot of guys, and I was like, taller LaRon Black maybe, but really the guy I started to settle on was James Augustine, rim runner, toughness, rebounding, and I hate James Augustine turns into like a program legend, all-time leading rebounder, but Illinois just hasn't had a guy like that. I mean, Augie was 6'9", athletic, pretty strong, not a great shooter. Right. Like, so all those things, I was like, if that could be what he is like that. And I don't think that's a ridiculous expectation, but that's the kind of player. I don't think he's a guy you run offense through, Derek, but just a guy that makes a huge impact on the game. I think if we're going Big Ten right now, is Cliff Omarui ridiculous about a comp for him?
No, I like that one. That's a good one. I know that in the past we've talked a little bit, and I know that the staff kind of thought, is he a Moussa Diabate? I think he's a little bit more rugged. more physical than Diabate was. Now, we didn't see Diabate progress forward in Michigan beyond 1 year, but I think Omar Ruiz is someone that you could throw in on the block, and I think that Morez, as he continues to progress, I mean, that's something that you can do to him now, but he's not maybe your primary option all the time. But I think that Augustine was just so good running the floor and able to get rim to rim, play the pick and roll. I think that's something that obviously Morez is going to be able to do, and then just so much of a presence on the glass. I mean, to be the program's all-time leading rebounder, that certainly makes sense to me. LeBron, before the meniscus, was more of an athlete. I think you don't have that injury, and he's probably just putting up ridiculous rebounding numbers. I mean, the grit and kind of the dog, as we like to say, like that lines up with Morez as well. He's a taller, maybe like a Brandon Dawson, like we talked about. Michigan State, like there's some of that too. So
I heard Lon say, "Mike Davis." That's my Weber voice. Mike was slim, right? Like he was not the toughest player in the interior, and he had a face-up game that was really good. Heck of a rebounder though. So just some players of what I think could be realistic expectations for him.